Hi everybody, my name is Eric Ecton.
Jeremy Grimes is at the mercy.
I'm known as the Humble Hoodlum
Ecton catches him.
from Hagerstown, Maryland.
Of his head, literally.
You're tuning in to KayFabe Junkies.
That he calls a squared circle that we call a ring.
You started your training at MCW's school, a school Leo Rush, Velveteen Dream, Lita, Mickey James, and a couple WWE referees have trained at. Tell us about your experience there.
It was pretty wild. It was real cool starting out. I was down there from January of 2017 to the very end of 2017, same year. I spent about 12 months. And it was cool. I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of people that I still talk to years later. One of my closest friends, John Rollins, down there is one of the video producers. I've got to pick the brains of like Joey Matthews. My very first wrestling coach was the Bruiser. God rest his soul. It was very hard starting out, especially not having any prior wrestling experience. But I felt like I started to pick stuff up on, and then some personal problems took me away. It's just something I look back on with fond memories. Even though it was hard, I still had fun doing it.
You are a second-generation wrestler. What's it like growing up with a dad that was a wrestler?
My dad was pretty absent. My father was a professional wrestler before me. He was trained by John Rambo and Neil Superior. Another phenomenal wrestler that was taken away way too soon at a young age. He wrestled all up and down the East Coast, out in the Midwest, pretty much as the places where I'm at right now. When I'm doing all these shows now, it's the first thing they say, "Hey, you're Egon's boy." I'm like, oh man, every time. I got to meet a lot of cool people growing up when he got in. One of the people that he first started training with was Dorian DeVille, who's known as Luke Ellers now. Really great guy, real funny. A lot of other people like Tate Griffin, LT, Corey Bush, who me and Corey have a somewhat decent relationship today, depending on whether he likes me or hates me from day to day. That's still to be determined. One of the coolest things was he was doing some type of work for John around 2003, and I got to meet Mick Foley. That was one of the coolest moments of my life as a child, growing up into the professional wrestling business.
Do you believe you have surpassed your father in the wrestling business?
Hell yeah! Who doesn't think that they're better than the previous generation? My dad has messaged me before and said, "You've taken this and you've ran with it further than what I've ever thought that I could have." The one thing that he has over me is he ranked in the PWI top 500 3 years straight. And it's not like he was placing at like 495 through 500. He was placing in the top 200 in the world. It's a lot of stuff to have to fulfill. And for my dad to sit there and say that I'm going further than what he thought that he could have for himself is a huge ego boost. I don't want to just say, yeah, I'm definitely better than him by any means. No, because being better than someone is just based off of perception and other people's, type of people's criticism of you. Because just because one person says that I'm better than them doesn't mean it's the other way around. Do I personally think I'm better than him? No, I hold my father in a very high standard of what I saw when I grew up. And to me, he's always going to be Professor Egon Ecton, that mad scientist from 3 Mile Island, New York, coming out with the big top stripe hat, green and red hair, blue and yellow beard, all in the same face, just for a random show on a Thursday, to be able to interact with the children to make them fall in love with wrestling. That was such a unique character at that point in time. And it's just, I wanted to be able to try to emulate that starting out, and then I grew into my own thing.
Tell us about your first match.
My first live crowd show was with Atlantic Terror Championship Wrestling in the summer of 2018, and it was against Jai Cole. That match sucked so bad, and it wasn't even because of Jai Cole. I left MCW. I was in a bad place. I took some time off, And I got into contact with Chucky Manson, and Chucky asked me if I wanted to come down and get some ring time, train under him, and learn some things under him to get ready to get back into the ring and start doing shows. I went, did some bumps, did some rolls, worked a couple spots, and Chucky said, "Hey, do you think you feel comfortable working tonight?" Me being full of and vinegar, I wasn't going to say no. But when we did the match and everything like that, I was a fish out of water. I had no idea what I was doing. Funny enough, I had a referee in that match try to bury me to another promoter, and now that promoter is one of my main promoters in Maryland now.
You spent the beginning of your career wrestling for Superstar Wrestling out of Carlisle, PA. Mm-hmm. What do you think about your time there? Very interesting. When I first told people that I was invited to go up to SSW, I was told that place is the Jersey. It's a yard tard fed. Don't ever work for there. If you have any ounce of respect for yourself, don't ever go there. And I'm just like, it's my first thing. I'm not gonna not let people tell me what to do, where I can and cannot wrestle for. And if I'm happy wrestling somewhere, who are they to tell me that I shouldn't wrestle there? I'm happy. I'm happy doing my thing. My first time wrestling there was a 3-way match with myself while I was Professor Egon Ecton Jr. against his former tag partner, The Freak, against BJ Walker. The second time I go up, it's for the new Revolutions Chapter 4 tournament. And I made it to the semifinals, and that's when I wrestled Ron Holiday for the first time. And I heard a lot of stories about him. I was very nervous. I was told that he liked to take liberties, he was stiff, he was unsafe. And I'll be honest, I was very nervous going in there. Pulling back the curtain a little bit, we talked. He let me do everything that I wanted to do that made sense. And he structured the match very well. I wish I would have gave him a better first impression of me. But I like to think that over the next 3, 4, 5 times that we wrestled, I hope that I earned his respect. A lot of people don't give Ron Holiday a lot of credit, but Ron really knows his stuff. He might look goofy, but as soon as the bell rings, he's all business. He knows what he's doing. People just see a book by the cover and just automatically assume like that's the type of person he is. Man's like a mad genius when it comes to stuff, because if he sits there and he says something, at first it doesn't seem like it's gonna make sense. But as soon as it pops off, as soon as the bell rings, it's like, oh, wow, was I wrong? After that, I went on to work a summer program with the Dragon, Chris Morgan, and we had a lot of fun with each other. We tore the house down a lot. I feel like I've grown a lot, and I found out who I was going into like my last couple months of being at SSW, being able to work that program with him, and then going back to wrestle Ron for the last time at SSW. That was probably one of the funnest matches I've had, working with him early on in my career. Then some not so pleasant stuff happened outside of wrestling. I almost don't want to answer this, but I feel like it's something that should be told. I was falsely accused of an assault by a female friend that I had from a few years back. And instead of going to the police about it and everything, they went to the promoters. The promoters went and took it to the police. The police found that there was no evidence, everything. It came out that she lied. And there was a lot of bad blood there. And I wish that I could have handled the situation a lot better. Being young and hot-headed like that, and being accused of something like that, especially when you know you didn't do anything wrong and you were able to prove yourself wrong. It's not that you just want the whole situation to go away, because you're genuinely upset. Like, I'm hurt. That was a person that I knew intimately for years. And to this day, I still don't know why. I still don't know why they would have done that. And it still hurts me. Like, it sucks. I lost a really good friend. I lost a lot of friends up there because of one person's lie. Life happens, you know?
you move on to different projects and everything you want to work for. I wish them all the best. Got no ill will towards Inferno or Dex Cross or anyone up there. I still love each and every single one of them. I still have a lot of respect for them.
Oh, mother.
It was therapeutic. I had a feeling as soon as SSW got brought up, it was like, okay, this is it. I've had chances to go on national podcasts and talk about it, and I said no, I'm not ready to talk about it. I want it to be over. I don't want to remember it, because when that first came out, I was one of the most hated people in this area for about a day, and just as soon as it came out, that's when it came out that the whole story was made up. I still remember the day that the news broke. I was in the ring training with my best friend, Jeremy Grimes, and Grey Wolf Raventhorn. At that point in time, he just got done his stint in ROH. And we were training, we were rolling around. Nick pulled me off to the side, and he said, yo, what the hell happened? I go, what? He goes, SSW locker room said they just released you for sexual harassment and everything like that. And I was like, what? Because I didn't have my phone on me. Just as soon as I pull my phone out, I see all this stuff pinging, and it's messages from Corey saying I violated the sexual harassment clause with the company and everything like that. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, when the hell did I ever harass anybody? And then it was told to me by Cody Call that it was my ex who was dating one of my friends. And I was like, no, there's no way. And then I went through every single text message, because I don't talk on the phone. All of my communication is 99.9% of the time done through text messages or Facebook. I screenshotted every single message that was between me and this woman. And I emailed them back to myself. I emailed them to the promoter. When the police were talking to me, I showed them the messages. And it's just like I said, as soon as the story came out, that's as soon as it went away. And then coincidentally, my booking skyrocketed. I feel happy knowing that the whole ordeal was over. That was probably the roughest 24 hours I've had in my life since I started wrestling.
What do you believe was your best and or your funniest match, and why?
My best match would have been between me and my trainer Sickened at UCW earlier this year. The reason to me why this is in my opinion, one of my best matches is because earlier that month, I was told by a local promoter that I had nothing, that I had a horrible look, I couldn't work, I looked like I didn't belong, and just so many different things, and it was so defeating. After being body shamed and everything like that, I just wanted to quit. And I had a 2-hour conversation with Nick that night. I just don't want to do this anymore. And he basically just said in the nicest way possible, stop being a and from there, it's been game on ever since. The quality of my matches have gone up significantly. I did that 15-minute match. The next time I went out, I did 25 minutes straight. 2 days ago, I went 30 minutes straight in an Iron Man match. Didn't get blown up once. The quality of my matches have been picked up significantly, and they were thanks to Nick. Nick and Mike Raddick from Voltage Wrestling. They were the two people that gave me the biggest amount of inspiration and motivation to step my stuff up. I'd say funniest match is probably be any time me and Ron wrestled. The stuff that we've done with each other is just so goofy. And so a lot of people, they think it doesn't make sense and anything and everything in between like that. But it's just so funny when we go out and we just do stupid stuff with each other.
You've done a lot of traveling in this business. What would you say is your best road story?
I'll give you my best and I'll give you my worst. Probably my best road story would be me, Ron, Sicken, and Jason Drake riding up to Atlantic City for our 420 fest. The show itself, oh my god, it was a nightmare. It wasn't because the matches or the show wasn't put together. It was the fact that we were on the beach in late April. It was 90 degrees out, and the sun index was at like 90%. I wrestled with a horrible sunburn, and it was like horrible. But all the fun that we had going there and back was just amazing. And then I think it was the next day, that following weekend, we went to UCW when I had the match with Nick. Like, we spent like 4 hours in the car just screaming about Sasquatch. And just being able to just joke around with like your friends, and then going out and be able to fight with them. It's very therapeutic. Those two were probably my most funnest memories of being on the road. My worst one, to give some perspective, is me, Jeremy Grimes, Vic Ramone, and another person that we won't mention were leaving a show, and we hit a wet spot in the road, and we actually flipped our car, and we all almost died. So two completely polar opposite road stories. Someone came in screaming, "How fast were you going?" 25 miles an hour. What was the speed limit? 30.
In the last couple of years, deathmatch wrestling has had a surge in popularity. As someone who at the time of this interview recently had a pretty intense hardcore or Riot City rules match against Sickened, what are your thoughts on deathmatch wrestling, and would you ever take part in one? You just did one Saturday.
Yeah,
No.
I just did one Friday. A 30-minute Iron Man death match, which is actually my first death match, actually wrestling. The first time me and Nick wrestled each other in a hardcore match was billed as a Riot City Rules match. Really, the difference was there was Legos on that one. The death match, however, there was a lot more stuff, and if you want to see it, you need to go watch the video. So, how do I feel about deathmatch wrestling? At first, I didn't really have an opinion about it. You know, I didn't know it. Like, yeah, I like Mick Foley and everything like that, but the Mick Foley that I was introduced to was late 90s, early 2000s, when he was starting to slow down on his career a little bit. And then after I started getting introduced to people that are in our camp that is very big into deathmatch wrestling, I started doing my research. I was like, oh, this stuff's actually pretty cool. It's a little too violent for my liking, because me, I like the character work of wrestling with like different types of holds and slams, punches, strikes. I'm not real big into like weapons being brought into a wrestling match, but now that I've started doing more hardcore based wrestling, I've started to like it more. What's my opinion on it now? I think it's pretty rad. It takes a lot of to go out there and take an unassisted headshot while having your hands zip-tied, handcuffed behind your back, and having everyone think, "Oh my God, is he dead?" And I felt bad, because the last thing I hate is pulling the curtain back and killing KayFabe. I literally had to go clean up and call have someone bring my family to the back and meet them out near my car and say, "Hey, I'm okay." I hated having to do that moment, but I had so many people asking, "Hey, is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay? Is he okay?" I was like, I don't care if they think I'm okay or not. I need these 3 people here to know that I'm okay.
You call yourself the Humble Hoodlum. What made you decide to call yourself that?
How we came about that was before wrestling, before MCW, before training in Riot City, I was really big into hip-hop. I grew up in a lot of unfavorable areas and done a lot of questionable things with questionable people. I worked with, and still do, with a record label in Hagerstown, Maryland by the name of Humble Hoodlum Entertainment. I initially was brought in there just on a trial basis. I started off running a merch table for the owner Aaron Butler, God rest his soul, he was taken from us way too soon. He was one of my best friends, and it hurts every day knowing he's not here, being able to see this crazy ass ride. When I branched out from the Ecton Jr. stuff, and I wanted to branch into something that was completely mine and of my own doing, we all sat down, from me and Humble Hoodlum, when we sat down and brainstormed and go, why don't you call yourself the Hoodlum? That's what we all are. It doesn't matter what your level at here at the label. We're all hoodlums. Embrace that. Be that.
What was your biggest mark-out moment in your career so far?
Big Cass breaking my nose. This is right after I got let go from SSW, and I thought my entire life of wrestling was just completely over. James Ellsworth, the person that owns, runs, and is the mastermind behind ACW, took me in when I had nothing. I left everything that I had. I had everything taken away from me. He brought me in. James Ellsworth was that promoter that the referee told that I sucked and I should not be working at all. James Ellsworth gave me that chance, put me and Jeremy Grimes with the weight of the world, Corey Bush, granted, as managers, in my hometown for the very first time against Big Cass in his first match after being released from WWE. Because of James Ellsworth giving me that chance, I've been able to go do so many other cool things. A lot of people talk so much crap about James Ellsworth or Jimmy that it's just completely despicable. He gave a lot of us in this area a big chance to be able to get out and make a name for ourselves and be even mildly recognizable to other people. So the biggest thing that I want to say to the referee, because I won't mention his name out of respect for everybody in this business, thanks. But yeah, getting my nose broken by Colin Cassidy, because the only reason why I got on that show to begin with is because Jimmy took a liking to me. Talked to Cass, really cool guy. We actually exchanged numbers and we talked to each other throughout the whole World Series that year. Because me being a huge Cleveland fan and him being a Yankees fan, and we just talked a whole lot of smack between each other going throughout the entire playoff season. Towards the end of the match, Corey Bush went to go throw something. Cass goes and throws the boot on Jeremy. Cass comes back, throws the boot on me. Boot comes dead even and just turns my whole nose sideways. I hit sideways and I fall straight back off the ring and I'm knocked out cold. The closest thing to come to that was being able to work with Rhino. I learned so much in that short amount of time, from only being able to talk to him for probably 2 hours that entire day, and then being able to go out and work a match with him. I learned so much about myself that day.
What do you have coming up?
Wrestling wise, I am making another debut as a unofficial member of Riot City, tagging against DJ Carter and Superior G down in Virginia. That Saturday, I'll be fighting Randy Lawson for the #1 contendership for the SCWA United States Championship. I have August 13th, I will be wrestling again in my hometown of Hagerstown, and I will be calling out Grim and Duhop of GTS Wrestling. Going towards the end of the month, I'll be at Voltage Wrestling in Martinsburg, West Virginia. Beginning of September, I'll be at my brother's wedding. So happy. I'm so happy for my little brother. He's finally getting married. I only have enough time to be able to be there for the ceremony because you know how the life of a wrestler is. You got to be able to decide between personal life or a professional life. Well, I tried to find the quickest way possible to have both. So as soon as they say I do, I'm right on the road up to Asylum Pro, which is another 2.5 hour drive. So it's as soon as they say I do, right on the road. Life never stops. I have a lot of other dates coming out for mid to September throughout the rest of the year to be able to track those down. Easiest way, follow me on all social media at Eric_Ecton_HHE. Thank you and have a nice night.